Hope it works. Is it working? Hey, I think it's working. All right, there we go. There we go, little tube dog. Little blanket dog. Hello, everybody. Sorry about the little delay there. Streamlabs all of a sudden was like, we don't know who you are. I try to log in, it's like, we don't know who that is either. So, anyway, I'm back. Here we go. We're working. It's Thursday. It seems like we're in a constitutional crisis here, where the Trump administration is going to openly defy the court orders from both Supreme Court and lower courts, and not provide any information or recourse for the fact that they basically kidnapped a bunch of people and sentenced them to death in an El Salvador prison. Yeah. Also in Boston, there's video footage of ICE bashing the window and stealing some people. And it turns out it wasn't ICE, it was Oath Keepers. So we got the brown shirts are out in full force doing the little crystal knock thing. So yeah, things are going to get worse and worse and worse on that front. And some good news, George Palikarus of Metamaterial, formerly of Metamaterial, obtained 56 pages of documents showing that officials at the SEC knew full well what was going on with Metamaterial and MMTLP, and they just played dumb in front of members of Congress when they were questioned. So interesting. They also said that they couldn't provide a whole bunch of Freedom of Information Act requests because they claimed that the data would be used to falsify evidence against FINRA and the SEC. What? You just provide the data, and then we go, oh, that's the data. You don't need to fake anything. It seems to me that that's sort of, we're guilty. On a side note, I need to point out that this shirt is fighting for its life. I think if I slouch in any way, shape, or form, a button is going to break one of the camera lenses on the sucker. It is a lovely designs on it, but oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in a straitjacket. BBYQ side, another like $300+ million in creditor claims got wiped out today. That makes it even more likely that there's going to be a waterfall for folks on the equity side. I still don't know when any of that's going to happen, but each day we're one step closer. Anywho, yeah. Oh. Okay. You know what I need to do? I need to make this thing bigger so I can read all in one. There we go. Okay. All right. Justin was first. Happy birthday. Beck second. D33 Rock third. D33 Rock. Oh wait. Third. Charles Bronson. Job recruiters are in my way of getting certain jobs. They don't even have experience in what potential candidates apply for, ask questions, but can't answer themselves. Job recruiters are not needed. Yeah. I mean, my sister, for a brief while, worked for a job recruiting company that specialized in jobs for logistics. So they look for executives that work for logistics companies, trucking companies, shipping companies, postal companies, etc. And she didn't know shit about logistics, but she basically would call up an executive who worked for FedEx, be like, hey, if you move to DHL, I'll get you a 15% pay raise and a $100,000 bonus. And they go, all right. So they go over there, then she gets a huge pay raise. And then a few months later, they call the guy up at DHL, like, hey, guy at DHL, I know you just started over here, but if you go from DHL to, Bronson Freight, I'll get you a 15% pay raise and a $200,000 signing bonus. They're like, all right. So she goes over there, they go over there, and then she gets a bonus. And then a few months later, she's like, hey, FedEx would love to have you back. They'll give you a 20% pay raise and a $210,000 bonus. They're like, all right. And that's all she did. If FedEx just paid the guy what he was worth to begin with, he would never go anywhere and she would never get a bonus. And that's that. Recruiters are kind of useless. But as with a lot of things, it's all about who you know. and the recruiters are like, hey, I can vouch for this guy, and that's their entire role, and it makes being an HR person easier, I guess. You don't have to actually do your job. I don't know, but yeah, they are not needed. And Charles Bronson says, Houston, need advice. Why is an auto tech looked at like a stain? Why are they not given a chance like others in other roles like service advisor or even sales or other department management roles? Advice. I don't know. I don't know enough about service centers. Something like dealerships, like a service center and a dealership. Not a clue. I mean, you need folks who are certified and like ASC certified and etc. to be a tech, to work on cars so that warranties are met and whatnot. But I don't know what necessarily, like, what's needed to be a department manager of an auto dealership or of a service center. I have no clue. Are they want people with like college degrees? Like, do they want like someone with a bachelor's in business or something to run one of those departments? Because those folks are going to be dumber than those with auto tech certifications, or like an AA or an ATA or one of those things. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Not a clue. Ask them what they want for the role, and then just tell them you have that. What are they going to do? Check. And Charles Brunson, again, is BBBY shipping container and board lawsuits settled? It seems like the shipping container lawsuits are settled, and it seems like the board one, if not settled, it's dismissed. But the fact that the $7 million that Mark Tritton was trying to get back from BBBY has now been thrown out as well. So my guess is that he, through insurance or through JP Morgan, is going to be paying a buttload back to Bed Bath & Beyond. That's what that tells me. Yeah. And Mr. E-Machine, what is going on with all the federal employees? Are they still fired? A lot of them are and a lot of them aren't. But a lot of the ones who aren't fired still can't get into their jobs, but they're owed back pay. So it's all just a colossal giant mess. And remember, like almost 3 months ago, we were like a week or two into this administration. I was like, this is going to take us 50 years to fix the damage that's been done already. This is why. Speaking of damage that's been done, a whistleblower has come forward from Doge, pointing out that Doge got access to all these data systems throughout different government agencies and built back doors for Russian intelligence to access our government agencies. So, Russian IPs have been accessing things like the National Labor Resources Board, and who knows what else. So yeah, we got that going for us. Hooray! It's also revealed that Elon was sending disgusting messages to women on via DMs on Twitter, saying that he wants to fill them with his sperm. So we have that going on too. Basically, he would be like, "Hey, conservative commentator who makes money off of Twitter, Blue, you want my baby?" And they'd be like, if I say no, will he cut off my income? And he was like, yes, I will. And then basically they'd agree to him filling them up with his sperm via IVF. They'd have his baby, and they would cut off all contact. So it's like a really lame way of being Genghis Khan. I had an idea for a show, and I told my agent, this is years ago. So you guys know that I've got like 500 sperm donor babies out there being raised by lesbian couples pretty much all over the West Coast. I had an idea for a show, and I talked to my agent about this, and she was like, absolutely not. I think it's a brilliant idea for a show. I don't know if you remember, there was a show called Dave Attell's Up All Night. Not Dave Chappelle, Dave Attell. Stand-up comedian also. And he would do like a gig in a city, Boise, Idaho, Portland, Maine, whatever. And when the show would get over at midnight, he would stay up until the next morning, seeing what everyone does in that city all night long. Whether they're like waste management people working a sewage plant all night long in a forge, stocking groceries, whatever. And he would go city to city, and he would do these things after his stand-up specials. And I had an idea. It'd be called Houston Wade Out Genghis is the Con. That's That's the show. And I would go to cities and I would bust a nut at a sperm clinic. And whatever cash they give me for shooting my wad, right? I then have to figure out what I can do for an evening on the town with that cash. Anywhere in the world, whether it's like, I don't know, Budapest or Tokyo or Lima or Miami, I got to do an entire evening, fulfill my evening on whatever cash they give me for spreading my milk amongst the population. Yeah. So she was like, gross. And then I told a TV producer, and he was like, that is amazing. So, I guess, yeah, I know your audience, I guess. And Mr. E-Machine, why don't we call it democratic healthcare instead of socialized healthcare? That way it is more like it is your choice to go to the doctor if you want, but also you can't blame us if you decide. We should call it Republican healthcare. Just call it Republican healthcare. If you're going to market it that way, just Republican healthcare. And then all the Republicans be like, I'm against Republican healthcare. But it's your healthcare. Yeah. So they're dumb enough to fall in line for that. So, yeah. Lakeside Productions, Houston. Can you explain to us in simple terms what reverse repo plunging $34 billion means for GME? Significant or nothing? I think it's significant for everything. So the reverse repo, it hit like $50 billion in the fall of 2019, if I remember correctly. It just had this crazy spike, and everyone's like, "What's going on?" And then it kind of whittled down. And then when COVID hit, and these huge payouts went to people all over, PPP loans, bank bailouts, blah, 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 blah. Banks had too much cash. And because inflation was coming as a result of too much cash being on the market, well, in combination with the fact that supply chains had completely vaporized and all that, they're like, hey, guys, don't lend out your cash. That's what the Fed's telling the banks. They're like, hey, you give us your cash overnight, plonk, we will give you interest on that cash, and we'll hold it here, and you can when the market needs liquidity, you can start having that cash back. Well, at one point we had over $2 trillion from all the banks stored in this reverse repo. So the banks gave the cash to the Fed held on to it overnight, would give them 4% interest or whatever on it, and that way we kept money from flooding the market, making inflation even worse. If MOAS had happened in, say, 2022, right? GameStop goes nuts. It's worth trillions of dollars. Stock prices go to thousands or millions a share, etc. We go full MOAS. The cash was there to deal with it. It was sitting there in reverse repo. So if the prime brokers, those big banks, all of a sudden needed $2 trillion to pay off all these liabilities, ta-da! It's sitting there, right? Now that times are tough, a lot of depositors' money is gone because they were wasted in lending for these commercial real estate. Car delinquency, auto delinquencies are all-time highs. FHA mortgage delinquencies are all-time highs. Defaults are coming. We're in tough shit, right? Houses can't sell, etc. The banks have had to use this cash, this excess cash they were given in 2020, and now they got to use it to make up for the fact they don't have enough money for their depositors. And deposits are going down because people are running out of cash because they're hurting, right? And so when people were withdrawing those deposits, the bank's like, oh, fuck, I don't have much cash I can put into the reverse repo anymore. And that is dwindling as well. So if MOAS happens, right, the banks do not have the cash on hand to deal with their role as a prime broker. As that extra step in the insurance for bad trades made by those hedge funds they lend to. Which then stands to reason that the Federal Reserve is going to print more cash again and send it the way of banks in order to bail them out. So the banks had enough money to bail themselves out if terrible things happen in, say, 2022. They do not have it anymore. The money is gone. We're down to $34 billion. $34 billion will not cover it. $34 billion covers GameStop doubling in price, basically. Maybe tripling in price. But in a squeeze, it can go a lot farther than that. So they're going to figure out a way to get trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars again, and they don't have it. without the Federal Reserve printing it all. But now Jerome Powell might get his ass, might somehow get fired, even though he's not supposed to be able to get fired, because Trump is firing a whole bunch of people who aren't supposed to get fired. Yeah, like the review board for credit unions, they just fired the 2 Democrats from there whose roles aren't up until like 2029. But hey, that's, they're all fighting it. It's all just becoming a very partisan, very authoritarian route, and Trump is going to put the dumbest person in the entire world in charge of the Federal Reserve if he gets Jerome Powell fired. We will get the finance equivalent of RFK Jr. as head of the Federal Reserve, and I don't know, it'll probably be like, I'm trying to think of the dumbest person I can think of. Like Charlie Kirk. Some moron like Charlie Kirk will all of a sudden find himself in charge of the Federal Reserve, who's had 1 semester of community college and has never read a book in his entire life, and whose face is too small for his head. That's the type of person that they'll send there. Off the Grid Hero sends a super chat. MMTLP news, a lot of info came out. Yes, start right off the bat. George Palikarus this morning sent out a big old long tweet thread pointing out that officials at the SEC knew full well what was going on at MMTLP and metamaterial, and then just basically lied to Congress when they're like, I'll have to look into that. I don't know. Because it was like their hot tips bulletin that was being sent out to them. Like, hey man, this is the big news that's going on. You better read up on it. They knew. They all knew. And they've just been stonewalling ever since. And they still won't give out the information demanded by a Freedom of Information Act request, making the bizarre claim that if they release the evidence, then people will then fake the evidence. I don't really know how that works. Seems to me that you can just verify what the evidence is, and then everyone knows. I don't know. But yeah, I think George has done a really good job setting up the evidence that there has been racketeering going on, and that the SEC in conjunction with FINRA probably allowed it to happen, if not participated in it. I think that's what they're getting to. The SEC, I do not think, are going to very successfully prosecute their lawsuit against Berta and George. I think there's just too much of the SEC and FINRA looking really, 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 really shady in this. So it'll probably, I don't think it'll go to trial. I think it'll get dropped, personally. Yeah. Code Red K. Don't worry, I'm here. Whew. Whew. Danny Motes, Houston, happy birthday. How do options work? When you let them expire and the money, have never done it. Always sold the contracts for expiration. You should if you aren't exercising it, it should automatically exercise for you. If you got the cash in your account, it'll just take the cash out of your account and pay for all those shares. You can always call the broker and be like, hey, can I do a cashless exercise? And they'll take, let's say you made $1,000 on your options, right? You're $1,000 up on your purchase price. They'll take that $1,000 and they'll buy $1,000 worth of shares, and they'll sell off all the other shares in that contract to help pay for those $1,000 worth of shares. So that's how they do. Yeah. I don't know. I the only time I've ever had things expire that weren't in the money was because I fucked up so bad that like, oh, I was up on a Tuesday. Oh, dude, it's gonna keep going. And goes, and I'm so far away from being in the money that there's no buyer for them when push comes to shove on a Friday, and they just expire and the money goes away. I can't even roll them over. That's how unwanted they are at that point. Avocados, hey y'all. Can't believe I will get to sit and watch all the way through this one. How's everybody doing? Didn't even watch the market today. Figured there was no point. I didn't either. I didn't really watch it today either. But then again, I spent all day sitting in a hotel or a hospital going, My mother had an appointment with allergist at the hospital. It's like a test done where they stab you with like 100 different things and then they figure out what you're allergic to. They called last night. They confirmed her appointment is for 12:10 p.m. We get there. We're like 15 minutes early. Like, hey, checking in. 12:10 p.m. He's like, no, 2:10 p.m. Like we have a voicemail that says 12:10 p.m. He's like, sorry, 2:10 p.m. We have no openings until then. All right, I guess we'll sit for 2.5 hours and wait. And well, we had a deck of cards. We were playing some card games, and person after person come in like, hey, checking in. I've got an appointment at, I don't know, 12:55. Like, no, your appointment was at 11:30. What? Another person comes in later. Hey, I'm checking for a 2:10 appointment. Oh, your appointment was at 1:20. I don't know if someone was like completely calclexic who was doing all these appointment confirmations or just fucking with the system. But that poor receptionist person all day long had to like juggle everyone around because everyone was showing up at the wrong times. Anyway, we sat there for 2.5 hours. My mom got stabbed by a bunch of things and discovered she's not allergic to anything, and they sent her home. Woo! But boy, that's just a lot of sitting in a hospital. Danny Moots, happy birthday, son. How do options work? Oh, you did that one already. I did. Oh, yeah. Avocados, that's who I'm looking at. Avocados, just read the description. Yep. Why isn't Congress jumping up and down, yelling constitutional crisis, spineless turds? Don't remember name, but saw one. Grew a pair. Went to go get our guy back. A senator from Maryland went down there, and he's like, hey, I want to talk to this guy. And the El Salvador's like, no. Our policy is no visitors. And he's like, but like there's a Republican here yesterday. Well, he wasn't meeting with a specific person. He was just standing in front of them for a photo op. So, the only way the El Salvadorans are going to do anything is if Trump forces them to do something. And the only way Trump is going to do something is if the courts can somehow force Trump to do something. So, Boasberg, who's the judge in the migrant kidnapping flights down to El Salvador, he basically said, hey, there's evidence this is criminal contempt, and you need to tell me who I need to put in jail, basically, is what his court order says. He just needs to put out a warrant out for the arrest of Stephen Miller. He arrests Stephen Miller, throws Stephen Miller's ass in jail. That will chill everybody in the West Wing. Because this is all Stephen Miller's ideas. Stephen Miller has been writing this stuff down for like 6 years, figuring out exactly how to be as Nazi and Goebbels as possible, and that's what he's doing. So arrest Stephen Miller, throw his ass in prison until this is rectified. Granted, there will be some folks in the White House who will be like, ooh, excellent, I can run in Stephen Miller's role, and they'll weasel in there and then make Trump not do anything. Then arrest that person's ass and throw them in prison for not doing anything about this. Basically, pick off everybody around Trump, throw their ass in prison for contempt until this gets resolved. Right? That's all you have to do. That's all the courts have to do. If the marshals are going to do it, the courts can deputize other people to go do that, and they have to go do that by law. So, do it. Like, don't give yourself a conscious crisis and never actually stand up to the person creating the crisis. You got to stand up to them. You need some remanding of corporal form in this thing. So, yeah. Dig Doink, my dog wanted to send good vibes to Monkey. Hey, Monkey. Are you at this end? Nope, that's the butt. Oh, we get a little... pull the tail out there. Whoa! Yeah. It's cold. You want to tuck it in there? Okay. There's a dog under that pile right there, I swear. Thank you, Dig Doink. Chris Taylor Yates on. Peachy Sunday. Happy birthday, Houston. Been trying to tell you about Forrest Fenn's Treasure that has been restarted with clues on Netflix. Oh, really? They're doing another... Forrest Fenn himself is dead now. But, all right. I'll have to check that out. I have the book. One of you sent me his original book, which isn't actually the book. I only have the websites. I just came across it recently. It is... this one here. This is Forrest Fenn's memoir, Thrill the Chase, self-published memoir about his hunting things from all over the world. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's written It's basically something for like kids to read, but you know, it's a pretty cool story about his life. And I can't remember who sent this to me, but thank you for sending it to me, whoever did it. Yeah. Well, we do need a MOAS simply so I can do a treasure hunt again and make it right. Because, boy howdy, did I not make it hard enough, apparently. And I need some good things to hide. And right now I don't have any good things to hide. And I need to spend more time in the garage, too, like taking electronics and rendering them down into some nuggets or something I can hide out there, but yeah. Anyway, Netflix, I'll check it out. Wormfall, hey, you should have a birthday. Bank of Canada today held their policy rate for the first time after 7 consecutive cuts. Thoughts? In the speech, it seemed some of the reasoning was the uncertain times. Thoughts? Yes. They never should have cut in the first place. Canadian government probably should have held fast and been like, no, we're not cutting rates, and let sort of inflation temper down a bit. The fact that Carney is a world class, if not the top economist probably living today, it's telling you he probably had those same thoughts when the Canadian government was cutting rates back in like September, being like, I think didn't they start cutting like in like June? It was way earlier than everyone else, and it did not help. So they can cut now. The Canadian dollar should be strengthening against the U.S. dollar. USD to CAN. 139. Yeah, it's strengthening at the moment, and just in the last month, it's gotten a lot stronger. Chrome, come on, Chrome. Bing. So just in the last month, we were at $1.44 Canadian to US dollar. We're down 139, 138, somewhere in there. The last year, you can see that the US dollar strengthened a whole lot, or against the Canadian dollar, and now it's going right back again. So basically, hey, we cut some rates. Oh fuck. That's what happened. 5 year. Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as it was down here, but the parity is getting close. They think what was it, 2011? It actually got stronger. Yeah, so we had twice. 07, the Canadian dollar was stronger, and again 2011 it was stronger. U.S. dollar. A weak Canadian dollar has always been great for Americans for like importing stuff from Canada, but it causes huge Canadian inflation as a result. So Canadians like spend way too much on stuff, and the Canadian dollar getting a little bit stronger reduces exports for Canada generally. But right now, with the U.S. pissing off the entire world, the Canadians might have easy ability to export, along with having a strong Canadian dollar. So things might get interesting in that realm. Carney certainly has a very interesting job at the moment. That's for sure. Right? Right, buddy? Dog in a tube. Tropic. Japanese barbecue marinated pork chops with grilled peppers and rice. I am currently slow cooking pork chops, but they're dry rubbed. Kind of Texas style dry rub. So they should be ready in like 2 hours. Yeah. It's gonna be a late dinner. We started late. But yeah, I got some pork ribs. They're gonna be good. Dig dunk, Brooks was here. Word. Avocados, tropic, yum. The peppers give me the burps. Grilled patapan squash is good though. Okay. And it causes a problem because that was after I said Streamlabs was being a jerk. Dig dunk says hit the like button anyway. Ryan Perales is here. Anonymous ice grab the 19-year-old boy who wasn't even who they were looking for. Yeah. And on video, they're saying, this isn't who we're looking for. And the other guy says, take him anyway. That is how the Gestapo worked. That's some SS bullshit. that the members of ICE who did that should be in prison for kidnapping. If I'm a state governor, and I'm finding out that ICE is yanking people off the street, the wrong people, and yanking people off the street without warrants, I'm sending out the state troopers to follow the ICE people around, and when they do that, arrest them for kidnapping and charge their ass with state charges. Like, they were doing that in Spokane earlier. I messaged Bob Ferguson. I said, hey, Governor Bob Ferguson, you should send the state troopers out to arrest these assholes. Do it. Like, the only way they're going to stop is if you put your foot down, because that's something that Trump actually responds to. You stand up to him and you point out that he's a piece of fucking shit, and you take something away from him, he goes, whoa, why freaking out so much? And he gives up. He might hold a smoldering revenge plan in his head for a while, but in the immediacy, he just goes, oh, I won't do that anymore, right? Because he can't have his little Gestapo boys all end up pending trial for kidnapping, because then the other Gestapo boys aren't going to do it anymore, and then you get a little Gestapo rebellion, and they can't have your Gestapo rebelling against you, because then you have nothing. That's your secret military, police, whatever. You can't have them, fearing for their safety and their freedom. So yeah, arrest their asses. State governors, arrest their asses. If you were in Massachusetts, go find those weird, Patriot Front Oathkeeper goobers who are pretending to be ICE people who are abducting folks out of their cars and send their asses to prison. No federal charges, state charges, so Trump can't pardon them. It's fucked up. It's absolutely messed up. So messed up. So we need to be better as people. We gotta stand up to this crap. There's no other way. Either we stand up now, or we all suffer the same exact indignities that these folks are suffering. Because when they run out of immigrants, they're going to start hunting down people who said bad words, who looked at them sideways, who didn't pay enough to donate to their campaigns, etc. And they're just going to work their way down the list. Because that's what authoritarians do. Until they have everybody just this like cold, or so say cowed. They'll do culling and cowing. Cowed population. We're just like moo, 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 moo. Oh, the Bachelor's on. Moo. And that's it. That's the future. So we need to do better. A lot better. Where are we? Where were we? Dead bass. Am I crazy, or could I spot a Trump speech on any topic from the transcript only? Not sure if there's a term for it, but the speech patterns seem unique. I did, when my Institute for Science and Policy website was still up, I did a determination of Trump's vocabulary. Basically, I didn't take written speeches, because you can't really count that, because someone else writes a speech for him, and then he's got to work his way through it, right? I took off-the-cuff interviews, where he didn't have anything prepared. And it was like 135,000 words. It was dozens of interviews over the years. And I took it all, and he had a vocabulary that was around 1,600 unique words. The average kindergartner has 4,000 words in their vocabulary. So Donald Trump's vocabulary is less than half of the average kindergartner. And that is why you can identify his speech patterns so easily, because it's so easy to identify. Having a small vocabulary is an incredible limiter as to how you can interact with the rest of the world and your ability to understand concepts. So, the English language does a really good job of bastardizing foreign words and making them into our own, which is why the English language has more words than any language by far. There's millions of words in the English language. I think the second largest is Japanese, and it has like 50,000. And that's because we just steal words from other languages. Like, oh, kamikaze? Yeah, it's ours now, right? Like, igloo? Ours. Oh, schadenfreude? Ours, right? We just take them. Rendezvous? That's our word too. We just take the words from other languages, we make them our own, and we incorporate it into our dictionary, and there you go. Back in the day, you wrote scientific articles, journal articles in Latin. And Latin actually doesn't have that great of an ability to describe things. You sort of have to like take Latin roots and smash them together and make new words. And not a lot of people who don't speak Latin fluently at like, basal I invented Latin levels could actually decipher what those words actually meant. And then turn of the century, German sort of became the language of science because a lot of the science academies and the best physicists and stuff were coming out of Germany or were coming from other countries to work in German lands. And then post World War II, English kind of took over as the base language for journal articles in science, largely for two reasons. One, America emerged as the most powerful nation to ever exist. And two, there's more ability to describe things in English language than there is pretty much in any other language on earth, because if we don't have the word for it, we steal it. French refuse to do that. French, they have a committee that decides new words for French and how to make them French. So, like in Japan, you see a helicopter, it's a heliocopter. Oh, right? In English, you see a type of lava that's in Hawaii, and they call it A'a lava. We're just going to call it A'a lava from now on. That is now an English word. Congratulations, we stole it, right? So, if you when you limit your language, whether because you don't have the brain space to expand your vocabulary, or because you don't have a language format in which it allows you to sort of grapple with complex ideas, you really do limit the ability of your brain to understand systems. When I was in Hawaii going to school, and Hawaii has a sub-language. It's a Creole. They call it Pidgin. It's actually a Creole. Hawaiian Pidgin. And Hawaiian Pidgin is very, very limiting in how many words that are in the actual language. So I think there's like 1,200 words in Hawaiian Pidgin. It's very, in a lot of problems they have with public schools in Hawaii are the fact that kids grow up speaking Pidgin and then they graduate speaking Pidgin and not having a full array of the English language. And so I'm working at Pizza Hut, and I'm in the line at Pizza Hut. Tickets come up at one end. A dude takes it, puts sauce on, cheese on, passes it on. Another dude does meat, passes it on. The other guy does vegetables and finishes cheese, and then they throw it in the oven, right? And so there's three of us in a line. This dude over here is speaking Pidgin to this guy over here is speaking Pidgin, and they're having a conversation. And I'm realizing at some point that they're having two entirely different conversations. This guy over here is talking about a really hot girl that he wants to have sex with. And this guy is talking about a truck that he really likes and wants to buy. And somehow they think they're having the same conversation, and they just weren't. And part of it is because the language is so limiting in Hawaiian Pidgin that a lot of words are used over and over and over for the same thing. Like, even in the English language, when you can't think of a word, you're like the thingamajig, the whoojamawatsit, the thingamabub, the what you call it, right? You can be like, give me the doohickey in the thingamabub with the whatchamacallit, and people go, oh, those are three different things. In Hawaiian, they have one word, one filler word, and it's called decine. American has decine because they make like backpacks and snowboards and stuff, but decine is Hawaiian Pidgin for whatchamacallit. So be like, give me the decine with the decine and the decine. And people don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They act like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's wrong every single time. I had this dude, Wade, not related to me. His first name was Wade, not last name. Wade was a very nice man. He was somehow a sergeant in the Army National Guard and probably 100% functionally retarded. Like, dumb as shit. He's a nice guy. He meant well. Somehow made it to a sergeant. I have no idea how. Had an IQ of 60. And Wade's sitting there's like, brother, give me the basket. I'm like, okay. And there'd be like baskets the Pizza Hut would do wings in. So I give him a little basket. He's like, fucking idiot. And he goes and he grabs a waste paper basket and rolls it over. I'm like, oh, waste paper basket. I got it. Cool. Not a week later, he's like, fuck off, give me the basket. And so I grab him, I slide the waste paper basket over. He's like, moron. And he grabs a bowl, like a big giant salad bowl. I was like, oh, basket is anything that holds something. could be a bowl, it could be an actual physical basket, it could be a waste paper basket, it could be a bucket, it could be a cup. Those are all baskets. And because the language did not exist for him to intricately describe the things he needed. In his brain, he's like, read my mind, moron. And so Donald Trump runs into these issues. People explain complex issues to him, and he doesn't know what they're talking about. He still, to this day, does not understand that other countries don't pay for tariffs, that it's a tax on U.S. citizens here at home. He does not get it, and he will not get it, ever. He just can't. He is physiologically unable to understand what a tariff is or how it works. And it's disheartening to know that so much of our country, I mean, we have something like 47% of adults in the United States of America cannot read above a 5th grade level. And that 21% are functionally illiterate. Like, so you can't reason with them because they do not possess the language ability to understand just what the fuck it is you're talking about. They can't do it. They can't comprehend it. They don't have the attention span for it. And that's why Trump is their guy, because he's them, but somehow successful. Except he isn't, because he just inherited money and then blew it like a bunch of times and lied about his successes and somehow made that work out in the end. It's a great con man job. And I don't know, you gotta just tip your hat to that this functionally illiterate adult somehow became president of the United States twice, crashed the economy twice, and is still a large portion of the population is like, my life is worth, but my God, I love this guy. But it boggles the mind, and it will continue to boggle my mind for eternity, because, like, I voted for Kamala Harris, A, because she wasn't Trump, but B, because, you know, it at least afforded an ability to make everyone's lives somewhat better. That there's a hope there. They're like, hey, we tweak these little things here, and there'll be a measurable increase in quality of life for American citizens across the board. They voted for Donald Trump because they wanted Donald Trump to hurt people. That's the fundamental difference when it comes down to in the end. And the language Trump uses in his speeches is, hey, I'm going to hurt people for you. And people go, yes, hurt them, daddy. And that is the basic premise behind, like, the most basal foundation to the ethos between what I want to see happen and what they want to see happen. They want people to suffer. It's the, like, I can't be a billionaire, so I'm going to ruin everyone's lives instead, because if they're all in the fucking dirt, then I can feel better about myself or something. It's like that 6th grade bully mentality. You know, my dad yelled at me, so I'm going to find some kid, make his life miserable, and I'll feel better about myself. And that's where we are, man. So, anyway, Aaron Salton, Houston. So I sold $100 of DMN stock, one share at a time, making $500. Robinhood restricted my account. They thought it was a bot trading. I had to expand what happened to unrestrict. Oh, explain what happened to unrestricted. Yeah, there was a trick you could do with Robinhood, where if you could get like a trading computer bot to do this, you could rock and roll, where you could buy fractional shares for less than a penny and then sell the same fractional shares for more than a penny, which the only way you can make that work for yourself is you could do like millions or billions of those transactions, such as a trading computer. But it's crazy that like Robinhood would restrict your account for acting like a trading computer when brokerages don't restrict actual trading computers for doing exactly the same thing. Like, it seems like that's a double standard, because I would assume there are brokerages or there are hedge funds, etc., who use Robinhood as their brokerage, who use trading computers. So why should they be allowed to do the thing that you suddenly aren't allowed to do? Right? That's a double standard. and they should be slapped for that. Aaron 17 says, I told them to look at the logs. It took me 8 hours to do 5,500 transactions last Friday. That is not a bot. I'm sure a bot can do it a lot faster. Having a stock less than a penny to sell at a penny is genius. Yep. Read. 60% of Coachella tickets general admission used buy now, pay later to finance their tickets. Signs everywhere, bubble about to pop, plus Citadel and .72 about to go bailout. Yeah, I mean, they're doing buy now, pay later for fucking burrito deliveries. This is as big a bubble as you will ever have. 30 years ago, you go to a huge concert in Seattle. It happens Labor Day weekend called Bumbershoot. 500,000 people would show up. It was $8 a day to get in. You could watch Foo Fighters. You could watch Dandy Warhols. You could watch Ice-T. You could, like, dozens of stages. Nonprofit runs it. $8 a day per person. 500,000 people come. Today, it's like $100 and something a day, and 40,000 people show up. And so the vendors make way less money because not as many people are there. But like they raise the same amount of money as if you just made it $8 a day. Like if you get 500,000 people showing up for $8 a day, you're making shitloads. If you got like 40,000 showing up for $100 a day, you're making the same amount of money basically in the end. So now you can just be like, hey, our vendors could make tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars more. People are selling more hot dogs and lemonades and beer and everything else because there's 10 times as many people showing up to these concerts. But no, they have to make like Ticketmaster happy and AEG or whatever live happy and just jack up the prices. And well, my sister had her bakery in LA. She got to go to Coachella for free because she would just sign up as a vendor and they'd sell her cookies from her bakery. And she's like, I sold like 10 cookies, but I sold like $20,000 in bottled water from Costco. and she's like, you know, if there's a particular band playing, you know, I'd have my friends take over. I'd go watch. If there's a band they want to see, I'd take over. They go watch. And we'd sell water to a bunch of rich kids. And, yeah. But yeah, the bubble's about to pop there, Kelly Reed. Painting with Daphne says, howdy. Howdy, everyone watching Painting with Daphne's channel, learning how to paint with watercolors. By all means, get in there. Aaron Salentine, they told me tomorrow my account restriction would be uplifted. Would be up. Comma lifted? Oh, go for the penny trades? Yeah. Can read also funny how South Park was a comedy cartoon, but now it's a documentary. Ding doink. It's a personality issue. Most tech mechanics don't have the bedside manner to talk to customers. That might be true. That could be one way of looking at it. My mechanic, Modern Collision Rebuild and Service, they're a bit pricey. They guarantee their work. They do amazing work. You never talk to the mechanics. They have an entire department of like 5 people whose entire job it is to talk to the customer and to facilitate what the customer needs done with their car. And then they go relay that to the mechanic, who then tells them the reality situation. And they sort of work as this like intermediary. And it seems to work very, very well. Versus the times I've had to go talk to a mechanic directly, and it does not go very well. Again, so maybe there's a bedside manner thing. Maybe you have to or Bronson, maybe to like establish with them that you do indeed have the bedside manner that is needed for one of those other positions. I mean, man, that's a point. Yeah, I can respect that point. Aaron 17, Houston, I recommend you load up like 100 shares of HMR ticker. Short interest is at 96%, and only 8% of the stock is tradable. 92% of the stock is locked up by the board. HMR. So it's Home Run Resources. They're at $1. Or is it Heidmar Maritime Holdings? This one. Home Run Resources, HMR. Which HMR is it? Heidmar or Home Run? There are 2 of them. Heidmar Marine is at 290 and bouncing all over the place, whereas Home Run is at 99 cents and not doing much. They're Canadian. Very small Canadian. Headmar Marine? 291. This one. Okay. This is the one you're talking about. Okay. So Headmar Marine, HMR on NASDAQ. They have a HMR options chain. Marine Holdings options chain. They do not have an options chain because their float's too small to have an options chain. Noted. Okay. So you can't get any futures with these guys. 290 to $3 and change to 290 again. What have they been doing for the last 6 months? All right, they're up there at $6, bounced all the way down to a local low of $1.40, back up to 4, and then floating around 290. All time? Oh, they're very recent. They came out February this year. Are they one of those Chinese companies? Is that where we are? Are we at one of those Chinese companies that just never delivered their shares to their underwriter? Is that why? Joins NASDAQ for closing bell. Gas tanker shipping industry, blah, blah, blah. Announces appointment of commercial manager. Okay. Noted. Interesting. All right. It's a Greek company. Okay. All right. Noted. Where? Oh, there we go. Dig the Doink says they're former auto tech. So you know from experience. Is that what you're saying? Lifetime dinker with tools. And it also says this administration smells like farts. Probably. Or full diapers or something. Dig the Doink also loved Up All Night with David Tell. Up All Night with David Tell was a very pleasing show to watch. He's a funny guy. He goes... It's sort of like... when Mike Rowe in Dirty Jobs goes and like immerses himself in the role of like what someone has to do at one of these miserable jobs, right? David Tell sort of like found the humanity in the folks who work these roles all night long while you're sleeping. And I really appreciated that. I liked it. A nice little zippy humor and all that. Avocados, oh my God, Houston, I am totally with your agent on that one. You don't want to see little Houstons all over the world? Like, the goal of the show is, like, it's been, 800 years since Genghis Khan spread his seed throughout Asia and Arabia and Europe, right? And today, there's over 200 million people who can trace their direct genetic lineage to Genghis Khan. So the idea is, can Houston spread enough Houston around the world that 800 years from now, I will have more children than Genghis Khan has today? The hard part will be, like, the fact that people used to have 10 babies, and now they have, like, 1 if you're lucky. So I'm just going to have to spread a lot more seed than Genghis Khan in the end. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to take me years and years and years, but if I have to do it, I guess I will. Dig the Doink eating street tacos with jizz money. See? You get it, right? Oh, I can go visit this museum for this much money? I will go. Oh, I can get a little gift for my friend? I will do that. And I'm done in, I don't know, Bratislava for the day. Hot Rebel, what are your thoughts on Japanese superstar pitcher Tomoaki Sugano the Orioles picked up? I have not seen him pitch yet. How do I spell his last name? Sugano. All right. Doesn't look like he's doing so hot. He's doing mediocre at best at the moment. He's 1-1. Whip is 1.57. Let's look at Japanese baseball reference here. Okay. So 1-1, 3.86 ERA. 3 games started. Only struck out 5 in those 3 games. 14 innings pitched. Well, in Japan, he's closer to a 1-to-1 ratio for strikeouts to innings. A little bit less. Some years is a little over, like 189 to 183. Yomiuri Giants. His whips career, good, really good, amazing, good, okay, amazing, good, amazing. What's this one? Looks like injury season, maybe. Okay, good, or amazing. This year, not so much right there. Huh. How old is he? 89, so he's 35 now. Strikeout to walks, very low. Look at that, that's 1. You do not want a number that low. His other previous years, he's 3.75, 5.73, so on. 6, almost 7 last year. Yeah, that's... What's his velocity? If we have what is it doing splits wise? Okay, season totals, platoon, splits, right-handed bats, left-handed bats. Who's raking off of him? Strikeouts to walks, so he's doing well against lefties. Doing worse against righties. Ooh, on-base plus slugging is really high. Like last year was the lowest on-base plus slugging pitchers had gotten against hitters like in history. And this dude is making people look pretty darn good at the moment in those 3 games. He's lucky that he only has a 3.56 ERA with on-base plus slugging that high. Huh. Interesting. 9 hits, 8 hits. They're batting 321, 286 against him. Well, it's early yet. I mean, Yamamoto had a real slow start last year before he dialed it in. So I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt. He might, new country, he doesn't know the hitters yet. I'll give him benefit of the doubt on that one. So we'll see where he goes. But 35, trust me, you get to a certain age and all of a sudden you're like, it's not there anymore. What the fuck? Not everyone's Jamie Moyer or like Julio Franco. It just sometimes isn't there anymore. Doink, my tuxedo kitty says hi. I miss his little kitty, but likes Fat Cat. Fat Cat's around somewhere. I think he's outside actually at the moment. Little kitty. I haven't heard from little kitty at all. I hope she's doing all right. Apparently where she's living, there's like 6 other cats, 3 dogs, horses, goats, you name it. So she probably has as many things to smell as any creature who's ever lived. So, yeah. Scott Pollen's headed to India in a few days. My sister was just there twice this year. Once for her job, and then she went for a wedding. And the one for the wedding sounded like that trip was rough. That everybody was just ill. and then she slipped in the bathroom at the airport and cracked her head on like the marble floor of the airport bathroom, and then like missed her flights, and she had to like go to the hospital, and they got a big concussion, and yeah. So the second trip, it wasn't as fun, I think, as the first trip. But hopefully you don't slip in the bathroom on a wet floor because the ladies mopping didn't put up a wet floor sign and you just... But Scott Pollen, Houston, check out this cool natural feature. No. I will not check out that cool natural feature. I see 11 degrees in there. I don't trust it. I know exactly where that's going to be. So no. No. You can't send me 11 degrees west and expect me to go, oh, that one. I know exactly where that is. Vernal, Houston. Have you seen the recent trend on social media? Clearly made in Russia AI videos targeting European government, etc. We have to stop this politician going against our country. I I've not seen those, but I would not doubt that they exist. AI is making troll jobs so much easier because some people just cannot decipher. I mean, the AI has gotten a lot better. You start to see little weird things like someone showed me the other day, it was an interview. The guy's asking a girl questions and she's answering, and it turns out it's all AI. It looks totally real, but then like you look at the little cues, and when the guy pulls back the microphone, the AI accidentally makes the girl all of a sudden holding the microphone, and it goes back to him. The little things like that. You'll see how suddenly, you know, the 6 fingers will turn into 4 fingers, into 3 fingers. People will be walking in the background will like merge together and then split apart again. Little things like that, and they're going to get better at that. And it's going to be harder and harder and harder to decipher. And with the fact that there's enough recorded voice of people nowadays, from anything from YouTube videos to space calls to speeches to whatever, that they can now just fake your voice and fit it into someone's face and make them say all sorts of things. Well, there you go. That's that. Dig Doink, let's talk about Ring of Fire earthquakes. Well, we can talk about Ring of Fire earthquakes. We have Ring of Fire earthquake map. Here we go. Maps. Images. That's not the maps I wanted. That just shows me. Oh, I guess I want images, not just maps. All right, so we got these guys, right? Yeah, let's get that big. Let's get that. No, don't. No, send me back. I don't want to donate anything. All right, here we go. This one. That's the one I want. Okay, so this picture is very small. I want a big version of this picture. Give me a big version. Give me tools, size, large. That's what we want. Okay. Open image, new tab. Maybe that'll work. That's not it. No, that is very small. Why? If I select large, why are you giving me a 308 by 164, dude? That is not large. I did large, right? Large. Okay. Give me another better one. Show me Ring of Fire. One that I like. One that feels... All right, well, this one might work. Are you big? Open image, new tab. That'll help. There we go. Okay. This is kind of a crappy one, but it gives you an idea about the Ring of Fire. Okay. Basically, the Ring of Fire is a specific rim. This whole guy here. What we have is we've got the Atlantic is spreading and the Pacific is closing. And as the Atlantic spreads, it's pushing the continents around to smash back into each other. So if I bring up ye old Google Earth here, take a moment for Google Earth to do its thing. So boom, there we go. Okay. So we talked about before, you got the mid-Atlantic spreading ridge coming down here. This is like a conveyor belt of magma churning out new land, pushing these continents about 3 inches apart every year. We've talked about how at one time they had smushed together and they made huge mountain ranges that rivaled the Himalayas, where like the Atlas Mountains down here in Morocco and the Appalachian Mountains are the same, along with the Appalachian Mountains and mountains in Greenland and these mountain ranges in Scotland and Norway. They're all the same, built and made at the same time. And then the spreading ridge came, everything started ripping apart. And as these things are ripping apart, it is causing the Pacific Ocean, which is gigantic. I mean, you can get basically the entire ocean into one view. It's an entire hemisphere, basically, of planet Earth. This sucker is closing up. And as a result, you have continental rock, which is high in silica. And you have oceanic rock, which is low in silica. This rock is denser than this rock. So this rock, continental rock, wants to float on top of the denser oceanic rock. So when they meet, smush. Rather than make mountain ranges like when North America smashed into Africa, right, or whatever. When two rocks are the same meet, they go crump and they smush up and they make mountain ranges. These have result in when they hit, the denser oceanic rock dives underneath the less dense continental rock, the light and fluffy continental rock. When that rock gets pulled down, deep, it superheats, forms magma plumes that then create volcanoes. So you've got a ring of volcanoes around all these trenches all over the Pacific. So you can see the trenches where the dense oceanic rock is diving beneath the continental rock, making volcanic chains all over the place. All over volcanic chains, volcanic chains, volcanic chains, volcanic chains, volcanic chains, and volcanic chains all along this. And so this is the ring of fire all along here. And so as the Pacific Ocean gets smushed down beneath and gets eaten up by the continents, you get these volcanic chains. And they're not too much in the way of spreading ridges left in the Pacific. We've got the Juan de Fuca plate, which is a spreading ridge. It's a fairly weak spreading ridge now because the plate is so much smaller, so much of it has been gobbled up by North America. You have, what is it, it's a Nazca plate? Yeah, there's one little spreading ridge guy left down here. And we got a couple little dudes out here off in like random parts of the Pacific where things are still sort of splitting and moving around. But for the most part, there's not much going on. The big spreading ridges appear to be in the Indian Ocean, here, in the Atlantic Ocean, there, and we got a couple on land going on, which is the East African Rift here, which goes, through East Africa, all the way up through the Red Sea, and then up through what is Israel, Palestine, Sinai. And this spreading ridge will eventually create an ocean of its own, where you have this, the continent of Africa and this new microcontinent, I don't know what you call it, East Africa, split apart, and you get an ocean that will spread inside of them. One tried to happen in millions of years ago in Minnesota. It's really hard to see because glaciers came over and kind of ground everything to a halt afterwards. But there was a spreading ridge that formed basically from the edge of Lake Superior down through Minnesota that resulted in a whole bunch of flood basalts spewing out millions and millions of years ago. And there's also like rare zircons and things that came out of lava. But that sucker kind of closed up probably as a result of this spreading ridge kicking off and just pushing North America along, forcing it sort of close right back up again because there's just so much force of that conveyor belt action moving along. But what is it you want to talk about specifically with Ring of Fire volcanoes? Because there's a lot of them. We have a lot of dormant ones. So about 50 to 70 million years ago, when India smacked into Asia, it did a doozy on plate action around the Earth. So you can see India here, this big old block here. When it hit Asia, it did so at extreme speed, and it's still hitting it, and it's still smushing in, and that collision is still happening. The crumple zone is still crumpling, making for this gigantic mountain range. But it actually forced the entire Pacific to tweak, to like turn. And you can see that in the Hawaiian Island chain. The Hawaiian Island chain changed direction like 50 million years ago and started basically going north as a result. We also have volcanics that happened around the same time out here in Arizona, out here in Nevada, and out here in sort of the Mojave Desert area. There's a lot of dormant volcanoes that we can find some here. There's Johannesburg, Ridgecrest, Indian Wells, Brady, Mojave, California, Lancaster. I want Victorville, Hannah, Lucerne Valley, Hinckley. Where are you? Are you it? Gardens. Where's Tropic? I want Tropic. You go up through, go to Santa Clarita, you head east, you go through House Place. I gotta find Hodge, Glenwood, Bell Mountain. Crap. I'm losing. Oh, there's Palmdale. Okay, there's Palmdale. You go up to Mojave, California City, Warren, Shitballs. I'm all right. Randsburg, California. That's what I want. I didn't go high enough. Okay, here's Randsburg. All right. So Randsburg, site of the largest cold strike in Southern California. You head south of there, You go, they have the ghost town of Boron. Well, it's actually Boron Air Station, which is go down there. That's the Boron town. This is the Boron radar station. This little ghost town here of actually an old military base / club fed prison. Pretty cool. If you go around there, they will send the sheriffs to go yell at you, but the sheriffs are a long ways away, so you got some time there. You head east of there, you go to where Opal Mountain is, out here. Black Canyon, all through here. The canyons are amazing. Petroglyphs, 12,000-year-old petroglyphs all through this canyon here, thousands of them. Is the ancient site of Lake Mojave is all through here. So the Mojave people, made their little homes here. This volcanic range, this magma, this basalt here, is about 50 million years old. So this happened when India hit, the continent twisted and caused a subduction zone to form under California in Arizona and Nevada. And so you can see all these little black dots. These are all basalt volcanoes that formed back then. And then you can go to like Tonopah. I can never find Tonopah. Oh, there's Tonopah. Here's Tonopah here. And you can see all these volcanic fields. These are pretty fresh cinder cones too. They look fresh because it's very dry out here. But all these are volcanics from around that same time. When the plates twisted and subduction zone jumped south and then formed a bunch of volcanoes here. And everything sort of chilled out again. And the subduction zone moved back up north. And the plate, then the Juan de Fuca plate became this lateral movement plate along here. So they don't have to worry about subduction zones and earthquakes and stuff anymore. But whatever. I'm kind of losing myself on this one. Yeah. So, I don't know where I was going with this. I don't know what you want to talk about with Ring of Fire earthquakes, or earthquakes. But the only subduction zone. So Alaska's had several huge ones. Kamchatka's have huge ones. Japan's had huge ones. We've had big ones out in like Saipan and that area. Big ones in the Philippines. Big ones in Indonesia. Big ones in Papua New Guinea. We had Tonga. We had New Zealand. We've had huge ones off the coast of Chile and Peru and Ecuador and Mexico. We have not had since 2004, which is when sort of this big run of huge earthquakes at subduction zones. We have not had one along the Juan de Fuca plate. Is the only spot along the Ring of Fire we have not had a subduction zone earthquake. Every other subduction zone in the Ring of Fire has had one. Our last subduction zone earthquake was January 28th, 1700. And the only reason we know that is, well, oral history of the native peoples, and B, the Japanese recorded an orphan tsunami hit their coast on that date. And they're like, where the fuck did this come from? We didn't have an earthquake. And so that's how we know that there was an earthquake January 28th, 1700, somewhere on this subduction zone here. This subduction zone is absolutely locked. There has not been a grumble, a tweet, a burp, a hiccup, anything for decades. So when it does release, it's probably going to be huge. It's probably going to be a 9.0 plus. It probably won't be a localized one along the subduction zone. It'll probably be a rip from stem to stern along this entire thing, all the way up to Vancouver Island, maybe up to was this Georgia Island, and it will be a long one, 5 minutes plus, 9.0 plus, tsunamis galore. Huge amount of land subsiding under the ocean because the pent-up release will cause it to spring out. So beach communities will just be lost forever under this thing. Bridges down, tsunamis, boats on shore. If it happens in the summertime when people are like in these beach communities, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dead locally. If it happens in the winter, better, because the beach communities are empty at least. But you're looking at massive infrastructure loss from the megapolis of Vancouver to Portland along the I-5 corridor here. Bridges down, buildings collapse, especially in fill areas like here in Seattle, where the original part of Seattle, Pioneer Square down here, is all built on fill. That stuff jiggles for a long time, and fill also, when it resonates, causes denser things to sink and lighter things float to the top. So that big earthquake they had out in Myanmar last month that destroyed a bunch of buildings in Thailand. It's a big earthquake out here in central Myanmar. And that earthquake is tied to Himalayas being built in India, smacking into the continent. There's a lot of fill because these mountain ranges are huge, right? So the rivers and glaciers grind down all the rock, and the rock flows downstream. And so this area is a lot of deep fill from drainage out of these mountains here. And the jiggling that happened caused building foundations to sink and a whole bunch of water to bubble up. So all sorts of places got massively flooded by groundwater springing up because the movement of the molecules of that fill allowed the lighter stuff to suddenly rise to the top. You do a really cool experiment with your kids. Go find your wife's vibrator, right? Get a couple mason jars like this. Put ping pong balls at the bottom of one of them, fill it with sand. Take the other one, fill it with sand, and put a steel ball bearing at the top. And then take your wife's vibrator. Bzzz. What will happen is the steel ball bearing will sink to the bottom, and the ping pong balls will float to the top. Science with sex toys, baby. So yeah, that's what happened out here in like Mandalay. Is that all that groundwater, which was trapped underneath fill, suddenly the fill started moving and allowed the light stuff to float to the top. So it just flooded everything with these artisanal springs that's popped up everywhere. Same thing happened with the Madrid fault quake. So the Madrid fault is out here in Missouri, and in what was the Madrid quake, monkey? 1810? 1807? Ah, crud. Madrid fault quake. 1811, 1812. Okay. 1811, 1812. When the Madrid fault quake happened, they don't know how many people died. Mississippi River flowed backwards from the tumble, but tons of farm fields all throughout this part, which was the frontier at the time, flooded. And so log buildings collapsed and killed people, farms flooded and then washed people down because the groundwater sprang up because of the jiggle action. Because remember, this is all fill. This is all fill from an ancient mountain range that rivaled the Himalayas and from the Rocky Mountains. So you've just got drainage coming down across this entire region of basically North America entirely, washing its way down here. So this is all fill that covered up, groundwater over centuries and thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. And so jiggle happened, some faults formed, groundwater sprang up and flooded everything. And a lot of people died from the floods. A lot of people died from collapsed, rudimentary log cabins, and were lost that way. Yeah. So there you go. Oh, hey. I missed a whole bunch of super chats. Okay, where am I? Low B, why is SCOTUS not issuing second ruling to clarify in no uncertain terms that what they are directing him to do? Yeah, the Supreme Court ruling was like, make an effort. It wasn't really like, get his ass back here. So the lower court may have to make that direct ruling and then has to get clarified again by the Supreme Court. But until then, the lower court should just remand somebody, hold their ass in contempt. Somebody in the administration just be like, yoink, you're not going to see daylight until this is solved. And they'll hold them there. You can't pardon criminal contempt, so hold their ass there. I don't know why the SCOTUS wasn't smarter in doing that, but they should do it. Lobi, also, Houston, turn your casino sound effects again. Turn on your casino sound effects again so you can hear the super chats. I can't hear them anyway because I don't have speakers. So, and I got talking. I got rambling, so I wasn't paying attention to what was happening in the chat anyway because you had me talking about rocks and volcanoes and squirty water and whatnot. Ace Ventura, Houston, is freedom good? Thanks. Apparently, the jury is literally out on that one. And San Diego active recently. Oh yeah, San Diego, the San Andreas. You got San Andreas runs all the way down. So you can see this little smear right here. This is where the San Andreas peels off, and we get the subduction zone from the Juan de Fuca plate. And so the San Andreas basically runs all the way down here. You can follow this line all the way down. It goes all the way down through along Central Valley, all the way down under Lake Elsinore and Salton Sea, and all the way down to here, to the Gulf of California. This is the track of San Andreas Fault. And the thing is, when these faults do their thing, they have spurs that come off. And if I can sort of draw, do paint. Bam, that's what I want. I want paint. So I can paint some things. Okay, I'm gonna put the paint over in this window. And then I'm going to turn off the Google Earth. Is paint gonna work? Paint has been working for a while. Paint working? Oh, paint's working again. Okay, fantastic. Because remember last time I tried to paint, it wasn't painting, but now it's working. So let's draw ourselves. I need this little guy. We're going to make ourselves a little California coast, Southern California, blah 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 blah, and then this will be like where Baja meets up, right? We got Salton Sea somewhere in there, and I will make this. Is this green? So the San Andreas Fault does something where it shoots up. It kicks out from the bay here. I should make that one a little longer. So I'll make this San Francisco Bay. Then like, there's what's that bay called? Not Doe Bay. Deba Bay. Deba Bay? No. Crap, Deba Bay might be here up to here. I forget. Whatever. All right, so that's San Francisco Bay there. So they get the San Andreas Fault here. The San Andreas Fault is slipping along, right? And it slips along pretty easily. A lot of it is made up of serpentinite, soapstone. So it's pretty slick under pressure, kind of greasy. But what happens is as the stuff's moving along, rocks catch, and you get these other little faults form. So these little faults will kind of like transverse faults will break off, and these little spurs. And so these guys can move around and make their own little mountain ranges. And so a lot of faults that you'll have, like the Hollinger Fault, is a spur off of the San Andreas Fault. And Northridge Fault, which happened in Los Angeles, is a spur off of the San Andreas Fault. You have huge bigger earthquakes happen out in the Mojave Valley. They're like 7.0s, but a lot of people live out there, so they don't affect too much. Those are all spurs off the San Andreas. So you can get some huge earthquakes off the San Andreas, upwards of 8.0. But you also get some 7+s off these little spurs that come off of the fault zones here. And that's sort of, that's just sort of what happens. Most of the earthquakes you get are actually off of the spurs themselves, because the San Andreas, for the most part, moves pretty smoothly over time. You can go to, if I bring up the San Andreas Fault again, boop. You can go to one of these places where the San Andreas is visible. You can see the line of the San Andreas Fault down here. So there's Hollister. You can go to one of these places and you can see, where is shit? It's the stream. Where are you? I should be able to find it. It's on the cover of a lot of like textbooks. Oh, come on. Here? Streamy meanie. The road's in the way. The road's in the way. Show me, where's my streamy meanie? Crap. There's a great stream that cuts across the San Andreas Fault, like comes through, and because San Andreas keeps moving, there's like a 90-degree little like zigzag to it. And crap, I'm not finding it right now. I bet I can find a picture of it. But if I do San Andreas Fault stream, I'll find a picture of it. Images. There it is. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. All right, turn off Google Earth. Turn on Chrome. This guy. Crap. Show me. So there's just kind of showing you the fault zone there. But here is a stream. So you can see the San Andreas is moving along, and the stream now has to sort of follow the track the San Andreas Fault did between the North American Plate and the Pacific Plate there. and this is it. You know, this is following the San Andreas from above. You can take, like, you yourself can go down the highway, find where the San Andreas fault pops up, take 2 stakes, stick them in the ground, right, next to each other, on one side of the fault, one on the other side of the fault, and take a rope, and like you can take a loose rope between them and hang it so it kind of drips between, and you can come back a few years later, and they will not be next to each other anymore. They will have moved a very significant amount, probably 1 or 2 feet, and you won't even realize it over like the course of a decade. So this thing is constantly moving. It is those little spur faults that cause most of the big bad earthquakes, because this guy is just a smooth operator quite often. So that's a cool thing you and your kids can do on a road trip, and then come back when you're old and they're adults and be like, look, our sticks moved. Yeah. So there. Digger Doink, do you think the Sphinx was there before the Egypt flooded? I mean, Egypt always floods. Before the Aswan Dam was built, Egypt flooded all the time. So no, I don't think it was there before the floods, because I think the floods happened before. I think the floods happened after, because there's a monsoon season all the time that would cause the Nile River to flood. So yeah, now the Aswan Dam is there and they suck so much water out of it, you don't get the floods anymore, which also causes problems for the farming communities, because they aren't getting the replenishment of nutrients that they need to grow their crops. So they have to use lots of fertilizers, and then poison mixed dead areas in the Mediterranean, and blah blah blah. All those problems. But hey, it's 8 o'clock here. 8:03 according to that guy, but 7:59 according to my computer. I need to go eat some slow roasted pork. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, I hope, for the normal like 3:30 show. Monkey Butt has her chemo appointment tomorrow, so we're gonna do that. Hopefully I'll get back in time to do a show, because I think her appointment's at 2 something. We'll just get done at 3, which means I should be able to get back here before 3:30 to do a show. Sound like a plan, little monkey? Yeah? Okay. Anyway, thank you, folks. I will catch you guys tomorrow. And I saw I really missed Low B sending people some memberships out there, getting the lurkers. Avocado got one, Vernokum got one, Jeff, Mr. Oak, Mark Sloan, Alarian, Dave Brooks, Leo B. Oh, Low B gave Leo B a gift. Fantastic. The B's are together. Thack Blanos and I'm Not Your Friend were all gifted. So we got two lurkers out of that group. Not too shabby. All right. Anyway, folks, I'll catch you later. Have a great night. I'm going to eat some pork and have a great time. It's not dark outside yet, so I can do the normal intro again. Bing. You like that? Are you vibrating with this pork ribs? You look like you are. You look like a pork rib kind of dog. Anyway. Bye-bye.